InDesign makes it easy to enhance your document with photographs and artwork imported from Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, and other graphics applications. If these imported graphics change, InDesign can notify you that a newer version of the graphic is available. You can update or replace imported graphics at any time. In this lesson, you'll learn how to do the following. Distinguish between vector and bitmap graphics. Manage imported graphic files using the Links panel. Adjust the display quality of graphics. Import Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator graphics using different techniques. Use various sizing and fitting techniques. Work with different types of dropped backgrounds. Adjust the appearance of graphics by manipulating paths and layers. Create an anchored graphics frame that flows with text. Wrap text around graphics. Fill type with a graphic, and create and use libraries of objects. In this lesson, you'll work on a 3-panel folding brochure for a CD by importing, manipulating, and managing graphics from Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator. The insert is designed so that after printing and folding, it fits into a CD case. This lesson includes steps that can perform using Photoshop if you have it installed on your computer. Start InDesign. Choose File, Open, and open the 11_start.indd file in the Lesson 11 folder, located inside the Lessons folder within the InDesign CIB folder on your hard drive. A message appears saying that the document contains links to sources that have been modified. Click Don't Update Links. You will fix the modified links later in the lesson. If necessary, close the Links panel so that it doesn't obscure your view of the page. The Links panel opens automatically whenever you open an InDesign document that contains missing or modified links. To ensure that the panels and menu commands match those used in this lesson, choose Window, Workspace, Advanced, and then choose Window, Workspace, Reset Advanced. To see what the finished document looks like, open the 11_n.indd file in the same folder. If you prefer, you can leave the document open as you work to act as a guide. If you leave it open, choose 11_start.indd from the Window menu, or click the 11_start.indd document tab to return to that document. Choose File, Save As. Rename the file 11_cdinsert.indd and save it in the Lesson 11 folder. When you open the lesson file, you saw an alert message about problems with the linked files. You'll resolve those issues using the Links panel, which provides complete information about the status of all linked text and graphic files in a document. You can use the Links panel to manage placed graphics and text files in many ways. For example, you can update graphic and text files that have been modified since they were placed, and you can replace graphic and text files with different files. To identify some of the graphics that have already been imported into the document, you'll use 2 different techniques involving the Links panel. Later in this lesson, you'll also use the Links panel to edit and update imported graphics. Center page 1 in the document window by choosing it from the page field at the lower left corner of the document window. If the Links panel is not visible, choose Window, Links, or click the Links panel icon in the panel dock. Using the Selection tool, select the Songs of the Garden logo type on page 1. Notice that the graphics file name, title.ai, becomes selected in the Links panel when you select the graphic in the layout. Now you'll use the Links panel to locate another graphic in the layout. In the Links panel, select rr-logo.ai and then click the Go to Link button. The graphic becomes selected and centered on the screen. This is a quick way to find a graphic in a document. These techniques for identifying and locating linked graphics are useful throughout this lesson and whenever you work with a large number of imported files. The Links panel makes it easy to work with linked graphics and text files and to display additional information about linked files. In the Links panel, select the graphic named sunflower_2.psd. If you cannot see the names of all the linked files without scrolling, drag the horizontal divider bar in the Links panel downward to enlarge the top half of the panel so that all the links are visible. The link info section at the bottom half of the panel displays detailed information about the selected link. In the Links panel, click the Select Next Link in the List button to view the link info about the next file in the Links panel list, rr-logo.ai. You can examine all the links in this list this way, one at a time. Currently, most links display an alert icon in the status column. This icon indicates a linking problem, which you'll address later. After you've examined the link information for various images, choose Edit, deselect all, and then click the Show Hide Link Information button above Link Info to hide the link info section. By default, files are sorted in the Links panel by page number, but with files used multiple times in a document, listed at the top. You can sort the file list in different ways by clicking the column headings. Next, we'll add more column headings to make additional information available at a glance. A faster way to view important link information is to customize the information displayed in the Links panel columns. Open the menu in the Links panel and choose Panel Options at the bottom of the menu. Under Show Column, click Color Space, Actual PPI, Effective PPI, and Transparency. Click OK. The important information in your workflow may vary from this example. Pull out the panel to the left to see the new columns. The Links panel now has additional columns showing information for the options you turned on. Drag the first column divider to the right to make the first column wide enough to see the file names. This customized view is a fast way to see important information about linked graphics, such as whether something has been scaled up so much that it will look bad when printed, jagged edges, blurry, or pixelated. Although the Links panel gives you information about the attributes and location in the document of a specific link graphic file, it does not let you make changes to the file or change the name of the file. One way you can access the original file of an imported graphic file is by using the Reveal in Explorer on Windows or Reveal in Finder on macOS option. Select sunflower_2.psd. From the Links panel menu, choose Reveal in Explorer on Windows or Reveal in Finder on macOS. The folder where the linked file is currently stored on your computer opens and the file is selected. This feature is useful for locating files on your hard drive. Close the window and return to InDesign. Even after you place text or graphic files in your InDesign document, you can still use other applications to modify those files. The Links panel indicates which files have been modified outside of InDesign and gives you the choice of updating your document with the latest versions of those files. In the Links panel, the file title.ai displays an alert icon in the status column, indicating that the original file has been modified. This is one of the files that caused the alert message to appear when you first open the document. You'll update the link for this file so that the InDesign document uses the current version. If necessary, click the triangle in the Links panel to the left of the file title.ai to reveal two instances of the imported file. It may already be open. Select the instance of the title.ai file that's on page 1 and click the Go to Link button to view the graphic. Notice that the modified link icon is also displayed in the upper left of the graphics frame on the page. You don't have to go to the link and view it before you update, but it's a quick way to double check which imported file you are about to update and see the results. Click the Update Link button. The appearance of the image in the document changes to represent its newer version. The modified link icon is no longer displayed in the Links panel, and the modified link badge near the upper left corner of the graphics frame changes from modified to OK. Click Cover Butterfly.psd, the image behind the title. Look in the upper left of the graphics frame where the modified link badge is displayed, the same icon as in the Links panel. You may need to scroll up to see the badge. Using the selection tool, click the modified link badge once to update the image. To update the rest of the modified links, choose Update All Links from the Links panel menu. Now, you will replace the image of the butterfly on the first spread with a different image. You'll use the Relink button to reassign the link to another graphic. Choose View, Fit Spread in Window. Use the selection tool to select the Cover Butterfly.psd image on page 1 again, if necessary. If you click the Content Grabber, you select the graphic rather than the frame, but for this task, you can select either. You can tell when you've selected the right image because the file name becomes selected in the Links panel. Click the Relink button in the Links panel. Browse to find the Cover Redflower.psd file in the Lesson 11 folder, and then click Open. The new image replaces the original image, and the Links panel is updated accordingly. Click a blank area of the pasteboard to deselect all the objects on the spread. Then choose File, Save to save your work. Now that you have resolved all the links, you're ready to start adding more graphics. First, however, you will adjust the view quality of the Illustrator file, title.ai, that you updated earlier in this lesson. When you place an image in a document, InDesign automatically creates a low-resolution proxy preview of it, corresponding to the current settings in the Display Performance section of the Preference dialog box. The images in this document are currently low-resolution proxies, which is why they appear to have jagged edges. Reducing the on-screen quality of placed graphics doesn't affect the quality of the final output, but enables pages to display faster. You can control this setting on individual images or for a whole document. In the Links panel, select the title.ai file you updated in the previous exercise, the instance on page 1. Click the Go to Link button to center the graphic in your window. Right-click the Songs of the Garden graphic, and then choose Display Performance, High Quality Display from the context menu. The image appears at full resolution. You can use this process to confirm the clarity, appearance, and exact position of a placed graphic in your InDesign layout. Choose Edit, deselect all. To change the display performance for the entire document, choose View, Display Performance, High Quality Display. All graphics are displayed at the highest quality. Change back to typical display if InDesign slows down. The most basic way to import a graphic into InDesign is to use File Place. There are several ways to import graphics, which you'll try next. Navigate to page 5. Open the Layers panel by clicking the Layers panel icon in the panel dock. And then click the Photos layer so that imported images will be placed on that layer. Choose File, Place, and navigate to the Lesson 11 folder. Select the file bluehydrangea.psd and click Open. Move the loaded raster graphics icon into the pasteboard area just above the page and click once. This places the graphic independently of any existing frame. InDesign automatically creates a frame around the graphic and scales it to the actual size, 100%. This photo is much too large at actual size, so you'll need to resize it. In this case, it needs to be scaled down. One way to do this is to type a percentage or measurements in the control panel, and InDesign will scale the graphic to those numbers in the direction of the selected reference point. Or you can scale the graphic visually. Choose the selection tool and hold down Shift Control on Windows or Shift Command on Mac OS. Drag the lower right handle up and to the left. Watch the control panel's size and scale, or the numbers in the gray box next to the selection tool, until the image is about 2 inches high. Holding down the Control or Command key while dragging scales both the frame and the content, in this case an image, within. Adding the Shift key keeps the image proportions so the image is not distorted while it's changing size. Drag the image down and to the right of the empty frame until you see the green smart guides appear that show the top of this frame aligned with the empty frame. Now we want to crop out most of the leaves. To do this, change the size of the frame without changing the size of the graphic inside. Drag the lower right corner handle in toward the flowers so that most of the leaves are no longer visible. Then click the content grabber and notice that the image bounding box shown in the contrasting color in the layer color is now much larger than the frame, indicating that part of the image is being cropped by the frame. Drag the image up and to the left so that the flower is centered in the frame. The next way to use File, Place is to place a graphic into an existing frame. Click the empty frame to the left of the bluehydrangea.psd image. Choose File, Place. Select Butterfly on Flower.psd and click Open. This time the image is imported into the frame. Once again, it's at actual size 100%, and that's too large since only part of the butterfly is visible in the frame. Choose Object, Fitting, Fit Content to Frame, which seems like the right choice. But examine the result. The image is indeed within the frame, but the butterfly is distorted, stretched vertically. Confirm this by clicking the content grabber in the center of the frame so that you are viewing data about the image rather than the frame. And then look at the scale values in the control panel or the properties panel. The horizontal and vertical numbers are very different, showing the distortion. To scale the image without distortion, choose Object, Fitting, Fit Content Proportionally. The image is not distorted, but now it's too small, leaving the bottom half of the frame empty. Choose Object, Fitting, Fill Frame Proportionally. This option sizes the image within the frame without distortion, and it crops part of the image if it's a different shape than the frame, as in this case. However, this is still not what we want because the butterfly is too far to the right of the frame. Choose Object, Fitting, Content Aware Fit. This feature intelligently fits the best part from the image when you place it inside a frame by evaluating various parts of the image. The butterfly and flower are now nearly centered in the frame automatically. You can nudge the content over if you'd like. Now, select the circular picture frame in the lower left and place the image callalily.psd. This frame was set up to center the image at 100% size. The photo is centered within the frame, but the subject of the photo, the flower, is not centered in the original image. Select either the circular frame or the image within and choose Object, Fitting, Content Aware Fit. The flower now fits much better in the circle because Content Aware Fit attempts to find the subject of an image. Notice that InDesign scaled as well as moved the image. Another way to import graphics is to drop them onto a page from your desktop. Switch to File Explorer, Windows, or the Finder on macOS, and open the Lesson 11 folder, which contains the starflower.jpg file. Resize and arrange your File Explorer window, Windows, or Finder window on macOS and your InDesign window as needed so that you can simultaneously see the list of files in the Lesson 11 folder and the InDesign document window. Make sure that the right side of page 5 in your document is visible. Choose Edit, deselect all. Drag the starflower.jpg file over the empty frame to the right of the circular frame and release the mouse button. You do not have to select the empty picture frame before dropping the image. Click the content grabber and notice that the image bounding box, blue, is smaller than the placeholder frame, orange. Select the frame and choose Object, Fitting, Fit Frame to Content. Then move the picture to a pleasing position in the group as you wish. Then choose Edit, deselect all when you're done. Adobe Bridge is a separate application available to Creative Cloud users with an all-apps subscription. Bridge is an application that lets you browse local and networked computers for graphics and then place them into an InDesign layout. Importing files is just one of the many features the application provides. If you don't have Bridge available, you can complete this section by dropping the graphics files from the desktop again but this time change your folder view to icons. Navigate to page 1. Then choose File, Browse in Bridge to launch Bridge. Bridge automatically opens the folder in which the InDesign document is saved or in which a selected graphic is stored. If you don't see this folder, click the folder panel at the top of the left panel to navigate to the Lesson 11 folder. Scroll down until you see the Maple Leaf images. Click the graphic mapleleaf.psd once, and then click the file name to make it editable. Rename the file maple-leaf-yellow and press Enter on Windows or Return on macOS to commit the change. If necessary, make the bridge window smaller by dragging the lower right corner and position it so that you could also see page 1, the cover of the InDesign document. Drag the mapleleaf-yellow.psd file into your InDesign document and onto an open area of the pasteboard above the page and near the dark blue square. Scroll to make the pasteboard above visible if necessary. Pause for a moment while pressing the mouse button to return to InDesign. Click the pasteboard to place the image at full size. Use the selection tool to position the leaf graphic in the upper left corner of the page on top of the empty blue dark frame. Press Shift-Control on Windows or Shift-Command on macOS and drag a corner of the frame to scale both the frame and its contents. Scale to a size just a bit larger than the empty blue dark frame. Then align the top and right edges of the graphics frame with the top and right edges of the blue dark frame. A very useful feature of dragging photos from Bridge is that you can quickly change pictures in a frame while seeing the new image in Bridge and then the result in InDesign. This technique is very useful in projects where the layout repeats but you need to import different pictures. You'll try this now. With the yellow maple leaf still selected, bring the Bridge window to the front again if needed and choose the file mapleleafred.psd. Drag and drop it right over the yellow maple leaf. InDesign retains the scaling, and now you've switched out the image with the new one in position in just a few seconds. Try it again with the mapleleaforange.psd. Select the image with the content grabber and set the reference point to the center position using the Control, Transform, or Properties panel. Then rotate the image within the frame a bit to the left to about 20 degrees. Drag and drop the red leaf again. The image is switched while both the scaling and rotation are retained. To see how the reference point affects the center of rotation and how this changes the results, experiment with rotating the image again using different reference points such as the upper left or lower right. In different situations, using a different reference point will get the result you're looking for quicker than if you always leave the reference point on the default setting. Choose File, Save to save your work. The quickest way to make a change to an imported graphic while you're working in InDesign is to use the Edit Original feature. This opens the graphic in the corresponding image program, usually Adobe Illustrator or Adobe Photoshop. You can make the desired changes, save the file, and it will be automatically updated in InDesign. If the Links panel is not already open, choose Window, Links, or click the Links panel icon in the panel dock. Select bluehydrangea.psd and click the page number following the name to center it in your window. At the bottom right of the Links panel, click the Edit Original button. This opens the image in an application that can view or edit it. The image was saved in Photoshop, so if Photoshop is installed on your computer, InDesign starts Photoshop and opens the selected file. Click OK in the Embedded Profile Mismatch dialog if it appears. In Photoshop, make a change to the image, such as applying a filter or making a dramatic change with an adjustment layer. Save the file and return to InDesign, and the image is automatically updated in InDesign. In the example you see in the 11_n.indd file, a filter was applied to blur the background. There are two basic types of images with white or drop backgrounds, both of which are widely used. The difference is whether the edge between the foreground and background is a crisp, sharp edge or a soft blending edge. The type of edge used depends on what is appropriate for the image content. Images with sharp edges between the foreground and background can use a vector path to separate the foreground from the background. This is called a clipping path. When Photoshop files with vector paths are placed in InDesign, you can turn on the path in InDesign, and you can choose different paths saved within the same image. InDesign can automatically detect the edge between the subject and the background and create a clipping path if an image has a relatively light or white background, or a relatively dark background if the subject is light. However, this technique works best for simple shapes or for creating a path to use for text wrap, as we did in Lesson 4. Working with objects. Images with a soft blending edge between the foreground and background use transparency and soft brushes to delete the background in Photoshop. Navigate to page 4 of the document by double-clicking page 4 in the Pages panel, and choose View, Bit Page in Window. In the Layers panel, make sure that the Photos layer is selected so that the imported image is placed on that layer. You can lock the Background Photos layer to be sure you don't accidentally click into the blue squares or Background Photos frame. Choose File, Place, and double-click the File Pairs.psd in the Lesson 11 folder. Position the loaded raster graphics icon outside the blue square in the center of page 4, to the left and slightly below the top edge. Make sure you're not placing the pointer in the square itself. And click to place an image of 2 pairs. If you need to reposition the graphics frame to match the following image, do so now. Choose Object, Clipping Path, Options. Move the Clipping Path dialog box if necessary so that you can see the pair image. Choose Photoshop Path from the Type menu. If Preview is not selected, select it now. Choose 2 pairs from the Path menu. The background is now hidden or clipped out by the path. Click OK. Choose Object, Fitting, Fit Frame to Content. Switch to the Selection tool and double-click the pair's image. press Shift Control on Windows or Shift Command on Mac OS. Then click the lower right corner handle and drag up and to the left to scale both the frame and its contents. Make the pear's image about the size shown and then drag it toward the bottom of the blue square, also as shown. Press Alt on Windows or Option on Mac OS and drag up and to the right. This creates a copy of the image. Choose Object, Clipping Path, Options, and then choose Right Pair from the Path menu and click OK. Then choose Object, Fitting, Fit Frame to Content. Switch back to the Selection tool. Click to select the frame. At first, the content will be selected. And use the same technique to scale this pair to about 80% of the original size. The Control and Properties panels show the scale amount as you scale the object. You can also type 80 in the X scale field in the Control or Properties panel and press Enter or Return to apply the same scale number to the Y dimension when same settings is on. If different settings is on, add Control on Windows or Command on Mac OS, and move the image slightly inside and below the top of the blue frame as shown. Finally, move the pointer outside the bounding box until it changes to the Rotate pointer. Rotate the photo to the right about -28 degrees. Press Alt on Windows or Option on Mac OS and drag down and to the left to create another copy of the single pair. Choose Object, Clipping Path, Options. Choose Photoshop Path and this time choose the left pair path and click OK. Then choose Object, Fitting, Fit Frame to Content. Switch back to the Selection tool, click to select the frame, and move the pointer outside the bounding box until it changes to the Rotate pointer. Rotate the photo to the left to about 22 degrees, and then move it down and position it between the two pairs at the bottom as shown. Notice how a clipping path allows an image to overlap multiple other objects. You can also move images in front of or behind other objects. Take a few moments to experiment. Then choose File, Save to save the file. Navigate to the leftmost page of the spread, page 2, by sliding page 4 to the right. Do this by holding down the spacebar. The hand icon appears. Keep the spacebar pressed and drag until page 2 is centered in your window. Select the Rectangle Frame tool in the Tools panel and draw a frame in the lower area as shown, crossing over the border between pages 2 and 3 and extending into the pasteboard below the document pages. You can choose fitting options for a frame before you place a graphic. Choose Object, Fitting, Frame Fitting Options. From the Frame Fitting Options dialog box, choose Fit Content Proportionally from the Fitting menu, and then click the top center reference point in the Align From area. Click OK. With the frame still selected, choose File, Place, and double-click the tulips.psd file in the Lesson 11 folder. InDesign fits the image proportionally to the frame as specified. Choose Edit, deselect all. Now we want to scale the picture without scaling the frame. Switch to the Selection tool and click the photo over the circle of the content grabber to select the contents of the frame. In this case, the photo of the tulips. The handles of the bounding box of the photo, not the frame, will be active. You'll see that this bounding box is a contrasting color to the frame bounding box. In the Control or Properties panel, set the reference point to the top center position. Make sure Same Settings is on. Type 70 in the scale box and press Enter or Return. The photo scales downward from the top center, resulting in the image being larger but also further down. Drag or use the arrow keys to nudge the position of the photo so that most of the image is cropped out, with just the tops of the flowers and leaves showing on the page. Refer to the figure below for reference. Press Escape to select the graphics frame again, and use the Selection tool to make the frame wider if necessary. Notice how different the edges of the tulip images are compared to the edges of the pear's image. The edges of the tulips and leaves blend softly into the background. This is the purpose of using transparency in Photoshop to remove a background rather than a vector path, to create a soft edge between the image and any background onto which it is placed. When you import files made from Adobe applications such as Photoshop, Illustrator, and Acrobat, InDesign allows you to work with these files in unique ways that you can't do with other file formats. For example, you can turn the visibility of layers off and on in InDesign. Next, we'll work with a layered Photoshop file and adjust the visibility of the individual layers. Navigate to page 1, the cover panel. If you locked the background photos layer in the previous exercise, go to the Layers panel and unlock it now. Using the Selection tool, click the background image, cover redflower.psd, and choose View, Fit Page and Window. This file, which you relinked in a previous exercise, has 4 layers. Now choose Object, Object Layer Options to open the Object Layer Options dialog box. This dialog box allows you to show and hide layers. Move the Object Layer Options dialog box so that you can see as much as possible of the selected image. Select the Preview option to view changes while keeping the dialog box open. In the Object Layer Options dialog box, click the eye icon to the left of the cobblestones layer. The layer is turned off, leaving only the red poppy layer visible. Click the eye icon to the left of the sky with clouds layer. Then click OK. Then choose File, Save to save your work. An anchored graphics frame moves with the text to which it is anchored if editing causes the text to reflow. In this exercise, you'll anchor the CD title to a text frame on the center page. In the Pages panel, double-click the second spread and choose View, Fit Spread and Window. At the bottom of the pasteboard is the Songs of the Garden logo. You'll insert this graphic into a paragraph on the page. Press and hold Z to temporarily access the Zoom tool, or select the zoom tool and click to zoom in on the logo and the text frame above it. Choose Type, Show Hidden Characters to view the spaces and paragraph returns in the text. This helps you locate where you want to anchor the frame. Select the Type tool and click in front of the word Addy at the beginning of the second paragraph. Press Enter or Return, creating an empty paragraph. Press the up arrow, which moves the cursor to the beginning of the empty paragraph, and then type 3 or 4 spacebar spaces. Return to the Selection tool and click the logo. Be careful to click outside the content grabber so that you select the frame and not the graphic within. Notice the small solid red square near the upper right corner of the frame. You can drag this square into a text frame to anchor an object to text. Hold down the Shift key and drag the red square near the upper right of the logo frame to the beginning of the empty second paragraph within the space characters. Holding the Shift key creates an inline graphic that flows with the text, as opposed to floating outside the text frame. You'll see a thick cursor indicating the point where the graphic will be inserted. Release the mouse button. After the graphic is anchored, the red square on the graphics frame changes to an anchor symbol. The graphic will stay between the first and third paragraphs and move up or down if text is added or deleted without you having to also move the graphic each time. Once a graphic is anchored, you can select it with the Type tool and apply text attributes that affect its position. Now you'll create space between the graphic and the surrounding text with the space before option. Select the Type tool and then click to the right of the inline graphic at any of the space characters to establish the insertion point in that paragraph. Click the Paragraph Formatting Controls button in the control panel. Hold down the Shift key and click the up arrow button to the right of the space before icon 4 times to change the value to 1 inch. As you increase the value, the anchored graphics frame and the text frame below it shift downward. Note that the cursor also gets longer, reflecting the large space before setting. To see how the anchored graphic flows when text is edited, click to the right of the period that ends the first paragraph, and then press Enter or Return twice. Notice how the graphic moves down each time you press the key. Press Backspace on Windows or Delete on macOS twice to remove the extra paragraph returns, and the graphic moves back up. Then choose File, Save to save your work. You can customize how the paragraph text wraps around an anchored graphics frame. The text wrap settings offer many different options to flow text around a frame or the shape of the graphic within the frame. Using the Selection tool, select the graphics frame with the Songs of the Garden logo you placed in the previous exercise. Press Shift-Control on Windows or Shift-Command on macOS and drag the upper right handle of the frame up and to the right until you scale the graphic and its frame to cover roughly 15 to 20% of the second column. With the graphic still selected, drag it downward so that the top is below the first paragraph. Choose Window, Text Wrap to access the Text Wrap panel. Position the panel so that you can see the changes as you apply settings. In the Text Wrap panel, select Wrap Around Object Shape to flow the text around the graphic. Under Wrap Options, choose Right Side from the Wrap To menu. Under Contour Options, choose Same as Clipping from the Type menu. To increase space between the text and the graphic, click the up arrow button in the top offset option 3 times to change the value to 0.1875 inches. Text can also wrap around a graphic shape rather than around the rectangular bounding box. With the text wrap panel still open, under Contour Options, choose Detect Edges from the Type menu. The other settings will stay the same. Detect Edges creates a vector path around the objects. The text wrap is determined by the shape of the objects in this graphic, in this case by the letters. To view the results clearly, choose Edit, deselect all, and choose Type, Hide Hidden Characters to hide the paragraph returns and spaces. You could toggle back and forth between normal and preview modes as well, all while leaving the text wrap panel open. In the text wrap panel, experiment with the available options from the Wrap To menu. Return to right side as your final choice. The path created when using the Detect Edges contour options is an editable vector path with points and handles as shown above. For example, you can manually adjust the anchor points by dragging them to a new position. You can also add or delete and convert them from corner points to smooth points and vice versa with the pen tool. You can change the shape of curves by adjusting the anchor point handles with the Direct Selection tool. Select the Direct Selection tool and then click the graphic to view the anchor points used for the text wrap. Experiment with moving individual points and notice how that reflows the text. Examine this path in the 11_n.indd file, where many points along the bottom of the graphic were deleted to better control the text flow of the first line of the paragraph below the anchored graphic. You don't have to follow this path exactly, but use it as an example. Close the text wrap panel and choose File, Save. InDesign takes full advantage of the smooth edges of vector graphics, such as those from Adobe Illustrator. When you use the high-quality display setting, vector graphics and type appear with smooth edges at any size or magnification. In the Layers panel, select the Graphics layer. Choose Edit, deselect all to make sure nothing is selected in your document. Choose View, Fit Spread in Window to see the entire spread. Choose File, Place, and select the Illustrator file, garland.ai, from the Lesson 11 folder. Make sure that Show Import Options is not selected. Click Open. InDesign shows the loaded vector graphics icon. Click in the upper left corner of the spread to add the Illustrator file to the page. Use the Selection tool to position it as shown here. Graphics created in Illustrator have transparent backgrounds by default. Choose File, Save to save your work. You can import native Illustrator files with layers into an InDesign layout and control the visibility of the layers. One way this feature is used is to publish different versions of a document. The part that changes is set up on different layers that can be turned on only in the matching version, while the main design stays the same. Deselect all objects by clicking in the pasteboard of the document window. Click the empty graphics frame to the left of the red frame on the far left of the spread. Choose File, Place. In the lower left of the Place dialog box, select Show Import Options. Select the file flower-title.ai and click Open. The Place PDF dialog box appears when Show Import Options is selected because Illustrator files are written in PDF file format. In the Place PDF dialog box, make sure that Show Preview is selected. Click the General tab, choose Bounding Box All Layers from the Crop to menu, and make sure that Transparent Background is selected. Click the Layers tab to view the layers. This file has 3 layers: a background image of a flower, flower drawing, a layer of text in English, English title, and a layer of text in Spanish, Spanish title. Although you can designate which layers you would like to display in the imported graphic, the small preview area makes it difficult to see the results. Click OK. You'll select the layers to display while working in the layout. Press Ctrl and the equal sign on Windows, or Command and the equal sign on macOS a couple of times to zoom in and center the graphic on your screen. In the Control or Properties panel, click the center reference point, and then click the Content Grabber to scale the graphic content within the frame container. Click the downward open triangle to the right of either the X or the Y scale percentage box and choose 75%. InDesign scales the graphic and centers it in the frame. If you use the Properties panel, you may need to click the 3 dots at the lower right of the Transform section to reveal the More Options section, which contains the scaling entry fields. Press the Escape key to select the frame. Press the Shift key and click the translucent red frame. Click the red frame again to make it the key object. Use the horizontal and vertical center buttons in the Control, Properties, or Align panel to center the graphics frame with the flower over the translucent red frame. Then choose Edit, Deselect All. Click the flower graphic and choose Object, Object Layer Options. Move the dialog box if necessary so that you can see the graphic in the document. Select Preview and then click the eye icon next to the English title layer to turn it off. Click the empty box next to Spanish title to turn on that layer. Click OK, and then choose Edit, Deselect All. Using layered Illustrator files allows you to store variations of an illustration in one file without having to create separate files for each variation. Choose File, Save. Subject-aware text wrap. Similar to content-aware fit, it uses artificial intelligence to find the subject of a photo and then creates a text wrap path around that subject. It works on images that do not have a dropped background. Navigate to page 6 and choose View, Fit Page in Window to center page 6 on your screen. Using the selection tool, click the sunflower image under the text frame that contains a numbered list with white text, the songs on the CD. Choose Window, Text Wrap to open the Text Wrap panel if you closed it after the previous exercise. Position the panel so that you can see the changes as you apply settings. In the Text Wrap panel, select Wrap Around Object Shape to flow the text around the graphic. This time, from the Type menu, under Contour Options, choose Select Subject, which may be turned on as the default setting. A path has been created around the petals of the sunflower, and the text of the song list is now wrapping around the flower following this path. To make the text flow more smoothly, we'll change the offset. Click the up arrow 4 times or type 0.25 inches in the top offset field. Then close the Text Wrap panel. The song list is now wrapping around the flower in an appealing way, but the address in the text frame below is also being affected by the text wrap setting on the sunflower image, and that's not what we want. To prevent that text frame from following the wrap path, use the Selection tool to select the text frame that contains the address to the right of the Ricky Records logo. Choose Object, Text Frame Options, and click Ignore Text Wrap at the bottom of the dialog box. Click OK. The text of the address returns to its previous position while the song list remains wrapped around the flower. A striking design element is to fill a headline or just one accent letter with a graphic, such as a photograph or vector art. Next, you'll learn this technique. Navigate to page 2. Select the Type tool in the Tools panel or press the T key. In the Layers panel, select the Graphics layer. Draw a large text frame just to the left of the flower title graphic, mostly or entirely in the pasteboard, and type a capital letter A and M, and then press the Escape key to select the text frame. Using the Character, Control, or Properties panel, choose Myriad Pro for the font and Bold for the style. Enter 130 for the font size. If you see a plus sign in the lower right of the frame after you change the font size, drag the frame handles to make the text frame large enough to contain the large letter. Set the tracking to -50 so that the letters almost touch. With the text frame still selected, choose Type, Create Outlines. InDesign changes the font to a vector graphic. Letters like the capital A become compound paths where you can see any background art through the triangle that forms the inner part of the letter. Switch to the Direct Selection tool to see the vector path points, and then switch back to the Selection tool. Set Fill Color to None in the Swatches, Control, or Properties panel. Choose File, Place. In the lower left of the Place dialog box, deselect Show Import Options. Select the file bluehydrangea.psd and double-click to place the image. Both letters are filled with the image, excluding the cutout of the triangle in the center of the capital A. InDesign treats both letters as one compound path object. To understand this structure, choose Object, Paths, Release Compound Path. The M is no longer filled with the image. and the center of the A is no longer cut out. Choose Edit, Undo Release Compound Path. Hover your pointer over the letter frame and click the Content Grabber. In the Control or Properties panel, set the reference point to the top center position. Set the scale to 150% by using the menu or by typing in the value. And then click the Flip Horizontal button. Click the Content Grabber again and drag the image to position it within the letter as you wish. Press the Escape key to select the frame again, and drag the frame to the right and above the red flower title graphic. Scroll to the right if needed to see more of the page. Then choose Object, Arrange, Send to Back. Notice that the letter graphic moves behind the garland graphic, but that it's still in front of the background image. This is because the Arrange commands move objects within a layer and not between layers. The photo behind the letter graphic is on a different layer, Background Photos, that is behind the graphics layer. Choose Edit, deselect all, and then choose File, Save. InDesign libraries let you store and organize graphics, text, and design elements that you use frequently. InDesign libraries are stored as files on your hard drive or a shared device. You can also add ruler guides, grids, drawn shapes, and grouped images to a library. Each library appears as a separate panel that you can group with other panels any way you like. You can create as many libraries as you need. For example, different libraries for each of your projects or clients. In this section, you'll import a graphic currently stored in a library, and then you'll create your own library. Move to the left of the letter graphic you created in the previous exercise until you see a light blue square that's partially transparent. Choose View, Fit Page in Window to see the entire page. Choose File, Open. Select the file lesson_11_elements.indl in the Lesson 11 folder, and then click Open to open the library file. In the Lesson 11 Elements Library panel menu, select Show Subset. In the Show Subset dialog box, in the last entry box for parameters, type flower and click OK. InDesign searches the library for all objects that have the word flower in their name and finds 3 objects. In the Layers panel, make sure the Graphics layer is selected. Of the 3 objects visible in the Lesson 11 Elements Library panel, drag the blue flower.ai anywhere on the page. The file is added to the page. Open the Links panel and notice that the file name appears in the Links panel. Using the selection tool, position the blue flower.ai image so that it's on top of the light blue background frame on the far left of the page. Choose File, Save to save your work. Now you'll create your own library and add text and a graphic to it. When you add a graphic to an InDesign library, the original graphic file is not copied into the library. Instead, InDesign maintains a link to the original source file. Graphics stored in a library still require the original high-resolution file for high-resolution display and printing. Choose File, New, Library. If the CC Libraries alert appears asking whether you want to try out CC Libraries now, click No. Type CD Projects as the library file name. Navigate to the Lesson 11 folder and click Save. Navigate to page 6, the back cover of the CD insert. Using the selection tool, drag the Ricky Records logo to the library you just created. The logo is now saved in the library for use in other InDesign documents. In the CD Projects library, double-click the Ricky Records logo. In the Item Information dialog box, type Ricky Records logo in the item name field and click OK. Using the selection tool, drag the address text frame to the CD Projects library. In the CD Projects library, double-click the address text block in the library panel. For item name, type Ricky Records address. And click OK. Click the panel menu and choose Large Thumbnail View so that it's easy to see the items. Now your library contains both text and graphics. As soon as you make changes to the library, InDesign saves the changes. Close both libraries by clicking the Close button at the top of the library panel group. Congratulations, you have completed this lesson.